Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named BullystalkedGF in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled My BF and I have been together for 2 years in an open relationship. My recent Tinder hookup turns out to be my BF's former bully. Could he have targeted me somehow? How do I tell my BF? Okay, first off, I need to make it clear that I absolutely adore my BF and love him very much. We've been together for 2 years now and we have an amazing relationship, so I am really freaking out right now. We have always had an open relationship. We started out as kinky friends with benefits and he has a bit of a cuckold fetish. So we just kind of naturally progressed by meeting in the middle as open because I want to be fair to him. Though admittedly, he's never acted on his side being open. We have a few rules, mainly just not to play with anyone we both know or anyone he works with. I pretty much just hook up with guys from Tinder here and there. I made sure to include my open relationship status. My BF rarely ever wants to see or know who the guys are. I usually just tell him the juicy details after the fact to feed his kink. He's watched me with one guy twice before, but that's it. About a month ago, a guy on Tinder matched up with me. He was the one who made contact first. He's this really tall, muscular 28-year-old guy, not a pretty boy, but decent looking face. Admittedly, I was into him pretty much immediately. He was charming, but pretty cocky. He eventually bragged about being large downstairs and sent pics to prove it after getting my okay first. I was honestly pretty proud of myself. This was the type of guy my BF loved to hear he got cuckolded by. So about a week later, I met up with the guy for a drink, then we went back to his place and hooked up. He was really into himself and wouldn't shut up about his big package, but the was really good, so we ended up continuing to meet up a few more times over the next couple of weeks. He got a bit more take charge than I am used to a couple of times, but he just seemed like a naturally dominant type of guy, so I just rolled with it. Looking back now, he had made a couple of comments here and there that seemed odd. I realize now they were little hints he knew more about my personal life than I had disclosed. Then this weekend, my BF and I were out at the movie theater and I went to the restroom after. When I came out, I saw my BF was talking to the guy I've been seeing. My BF looked annoyed and a bit out of place. Big guy pretended to be surprised when he saw me walking up and I got introduced, but he seemed to be faking that surprise. He played dumb and acted like we'd never met with almost a creepy grin on his face. I was really thrown off. After we left and were driving home, my BF starts in about the guy. He apparently was my BF's bully all through high school. My BF is this amazing, intelligent man and I adore his geekiness, but he had always said he had a terrible time in school, being a small guy and really nerdy. He got bullied a lot. Apparently, this asshole was the ringleader behind a lot of that and made his life hell. And now I've gone and had sex with that jerk several times. Every time I think about it now, it makes my skin crawl and I want to throw up. He apparently texted me right after the theater incident. He just said to let him know when I was ready to meet up again for a good time. I just know this guy knew who I was when he contacted me. I don't have any proof, but I know it. His knowing creepy smile said it all. I haven't texted him back at all. I haven't told my BF that this was the guy I've been hooking up with. I know I have to, but what the hell do I even say? This is going to mess him up so bad. Please, someone tell me how I even start to deal with this. Update. Thank you all so much for the helpful advice and encouragement. I was really feeling depressed and hopeless about this entire situation, especially after posting to another sub first and seeing the reactions I got there. After reading your replies here, I felt centered and resolved to do what needed to be done. I know this whole thing probably sounded overdramatic, but I never dreamed we would end up dealing with a situation like this. I finally gathered the nerve and told my BF everything. I sat down with him last night and had a long talk. He was understandably very upset. We both went through a lot of emotions last night, but for the most part, we managed to do so together. He mostly seemed a bit in shock. He acknowledged that this wasn't my fault, but he admitted it is difficult to be around me or look at me right now. He wanted to sleep alone, so I volunteered to sleep on the couch. But during the night, I finally heard him break down and cry, so I ran in and held him and we had a good cry together. We both took the day off and spent time together. He's still upset with me for waiting a few days to tell him, but I have begged him to forgive me for that, and I hope he will be able to soon. He said he's still absorbing everything. He wants to close our relationship, at least for now, and I wholeheartedly agreed. He's also apologized to me, of all things, for his fetish leading to this happening to me. I told him he absolutely had nothing to apologize for, but that I love him even more because he's the kind of man who would feel bad for me in this situation. We've obviously got a lot to work through over this. He has a traumatic history with being bullied throughout most of his school years by that guy, and this has reopened some very painful old wounds for him. I tried to be as comforting and reassuring as possible. We discussed it, and we still don't know if this was all planned or just a really horrible coincidence. At the very least, once he realized our situation, he took advantage of it. I will still try to reply to your questions individually as I can, but since it was asked by several people, the town they grew up in is about an hour's drive away. We live in a decently sized city, so that combined with my BF being a bit of an introvert is why we didn't have a better system in place. If we reopen the relationship, we are going to have much firmer safety rules in place. We both agree that the bully is potentially dangerous and are taking steps to keep him away from us. We are going to warn all our friends about him. Now that my BF knows everything, I've completely blocked the bully everywhere and in every way I can think of. User The Darkest Beer said, "You dude, that is creepy as hell, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Just be straight with your boyfriend. I didn't know how to say this at the time, but Bully is the guy I've hooked up with a few times recently. Obviously, I didn't know who he was at the time, and I won't be contacting him again. The way he acted at the movie theater, along with some things he said that I didn't quite understand at the time, made me wonder if he knew I was dating you and never said anything. I feel really disgusted and upset by the whole thing. Ask for the support you need and offer him the support you can give. This is a difficult and strange situation for both of you, because old trauma can bring up some complex emotions. I feel like I should say, don't let him blame you for this. This wasn't your fault, and if he did target you, then you were absolutely taken advantage of in a truly disgusting way." User Rebel Scientist said, "Assuming you're living in the same town or city that your boyfriend grew up in, and given the well-documented tendency for certain individuals to swipe right on every girl on Tinder, I could easily see you happening to meet up with this guy being a coincidence. I don't think it's likely that he was stalking you or targeting you, since the majority of people don't sit around waiting for an opportunity to get one over on the kid they bullied in school a decade ago. That's some cartoon villain behavior. That said, you should definitely tell your boyfriend. If he runs into this guy again, the bully will almost certainly try to use it against him. He should be prepared for that." User Amberhawk said, "I was bullied a lot in high school. I consider myself lucky because they all have come forward and apologized, and one is even now a friend. So I have a little perspective here. Now, I'm probably going to get downvoted for this, and it's against what I normally preach. Honestly, I wouldn't tell him. It's shitty to think of it this way, but while you may gain peace of mind, it really doesn't do anything positive for your relationship or your partner. It's kind of how I feel about someone admitting they had an affair. It clears their mind, but not the partner they cheated on. I believe you that you probably were found just to get one over on your boyfriend. He probably sees it as a power and dominance thing. Many people are into that kind of thing. Now, there is a chance that he may decide to shove it in your boyfriend's face. If he does and you don't tell him, I wouldn't double down, but just come clean. You didn't know, and when you did, you felt horrible and ended it. If you decide to tell him, I would say it that way too. In the end, you were used in a very intimate way. That sucks. It may eat at your boyfriend and ruin the relationship. He may request that you're not poly anymore. I don't think you did anything wrong, as you didn't know ahead of time, but you're now stuck with how to proceed. I wish you luck either way, and I'm sorry you're in this situation. 2 more quick things. If you tell him, I might bring it up by asking if he had any other bullies that you need to know about, and then explain why. Second, no matter what you do, I would say that sex was bad and you thought it would get better. No need to rub salt in the wound. Again, I'm usually a proponent of helping partners feel better about themselves while still being honest if the sex was amazing. This isn't exactly a normal situation though. If he is still hung up on this guy, and it sounds like he has good reason to be, not all wounds heal cleanly, then I would be cautious. He may think that you'll just leave him to be with this guy. This next post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named Extra French Toast. The post is titled, "My 29M boyfriend is trying to be a streamer. It's hard to explain to him that it won't happen. I know this is a bit lighter than what this sub is used to, but I don't know who else to tell this to that doesn't know him. My boyfriend and I have been together for roughly 5 months. For Christmas, one of my gifts was an Xbox. A while back, I was reading something out loud to him from a gaming news site, and I mentioned that Ninja makes something like $500K a month on Twitch. Since learning this, he has wanted to become a streamer. Now, every time he plays a game, he streams it. I stated in my title that he's trying to become a streamer, but he really isn't trying at all. He's just streaming what's on his screen from his Xbox with no face cam or even a mic. He told me that he's really shocked he doesn't have many viewers. I tried gently explaining to him that streaming and YouTube are all about personality, but to no avail. He's also really camera shy and doesn't even have many pictures of himself over the years. His mother even gave up trying to get him into family photos. So I don't understand how being a streamer would even work for him or how he thinks it's a good idea. He also sits very quietly, muttering the occasional fuck as he plays video games. The popular streamers he's trying to emulate have natural humor and commentary, and he just doesn't have it, if you know what I mean. He even mentioned that I should start streaming because I'm pretty good at some games. I laughed it off and said I have no interest. In a past relationship, I was called a negative, so I didn't want to rain on his parade. For some background, he is in school to be an architect and has a good union job where he gets paid pretty well, so it can't just be about the money. This week, I was running errands when he said he was going to pick up his laundry and groceries for me to cook dinner before I got there. When I arrived, he was sitting in his room in boxers, streaming for no viewers, and the laundry and groceries still hadn't been picked up even though it had been about 6 hours. This really pissed me off, but I didn't say anything. He doesn't usually play video games for that long, but now it's all he does in his spare time. We have a trip to Japan coming up in June, and now he's talking about buying expensive equipment for his stream. My money for the trip has been set aside for a month, and he still hasn't started saving for it. I am afraid that he will spend money on equipment and ruin our trip. The other night, he happily told me that he has one dedicated viewer who watches every time he's on. What he doesn't know is that Twitch counts you as a viewer when you start the stream, so the follower he's talking about is himself. I just didn't have the heart to tell him because I know how embarrassing that would be. It's become a point of annoyance every time I hear the word streamer. Any advice here, or should I just let this Twitch stream fizzle out without my input? 2 days later, OP gave us an update. Some of you may not have been around to read the comments after I posted this, but I wanted to share some more details about the situation that I didn't initially mention. A Redditor related to me and explained how her ex was the same way and seemed to have a video game addiction. Her experience eerily mirrored mine. You can read my responses here. Yesterday after work, I had to rush home to deal with some family matters, so I didn't get a chance to sit him down and talk to him, aside from a 5-minute phone call and passing him at work. Today, however, my path was clear and I was determined to speak to him about this. When I woke up and showered, I checked the Xbox app and saw that he was last online 30 minutes ago at 7 a.m. This meant that, once again, he had not slept at all. I didn't contact him. His day off was today and he called me at 3 p.m. to say that he had just woken up. I could hear Overwatch in the background and he asked how my day was going. Before I could respond, he very angrily said, "Why the F won't this guy get off Hanzo? He effing sucks." I had a client approaching me, so I swiftly hung up. I called him back after work while I was walking home and decided to start with small talk before addressing the main subject. I didn't even have a chance to begin with the small talk before he asked me why I was slightly out of breath. I said it was because I was walking through snow up a hill. He replied, "It's snowing?" It had snowed heavily for quite a few hours. His place is built so that you can't enter the hallway to the kitchen or front door without seeing outside. He hadn't even looked out of his window at all today and had spent all day in his bedroom playing video games. This prompted me to ask him if he is planning to do anything else with his life besides playing video games. He said, "Of course, just not right now." He had not showered or eaten at all that day. I asked if he thought that was healthy and he said with an edge, "What? Playing video games? Of course. Am I smoking meth or something?" I clarified and decided to be direct. I said I think he has a problem, skipping work, not sleeping or eating, and the sheer number of hours he dedicates to playing games. He then did what most addicts do, got angry and turned it back on me. He said that I bought him the Xbox in the first place and that I've been playing video games long before we were together. I said I do not obsess over games or skip meals to play and that I would have never bought it for him if I knew this is what it would lead to. He got angry and asked if I just called to harass him. I said I called to speak to him and share my thoughts from the past few months. He said I was crazy, that everyone plays video games, and to whoever said that the streaming was just a decoy and an excuse to play video games all day, you were absolutely right. He feels justified in doing exactly that as long as he tells me there's a goal to it all. I told him that my mind isn't changed and that I think he has a problem and should speak to someone. He said nothing to this. I then said that I don't feel we have anything more to really discuss and that I can't spend my time worrying about him. I feel like I am going to get hate for this, but I won't budge on it. He is not my child and I can't force a grown man to eat or go outside. I have done my research and slept on it. Many people messaged me and commented to share their stories of dealing with a loved one with video game addiction or that they were once in his shoes. This is not a battle I want to be in. He is not the person I met last year. He responded in a very mellow voice that he knows he's been inattentive and would like a chance to make it up to me. He said he wanted to go on a date tomorrow. I declined and he started rambling about how perfect I am for him. I thought the same once. He kept going and said I'm being ridiculous, starting to tell me the things he could be doing instead of playing video games, such as I'm not a drinker, I don't cheat, etc. I am sad because before we dated, he was really a good friend. I said that I was almost home and had to go. He stayed quiet for a while and then said, okay. The fact that the video game noises didn't stop during the entire phone call didn't go unnoticed by me. I didn't bring it up because I don't think he would have stopped even if I had asked him to. We hung up and that was that. Luckily, I only see him in passing at work, and I will now make sure not to see him at all. It's a huge building. It isn't hard. I would also like to note that I received some very unpleasant messages calling me an absolute jerk for not supporting him in playing video games. They said I'm going to regret everything when he becomes a famous streamer. Some even went so far as to say that I only care about him skipping work and potentially being fired because I'm in it for his money. I am prepared for more of those messages for now abandoning him, and I am still going to Japan.